Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we turn to talking about a very popular long-running TV show that's hosted by the BBC in Britain. It's of course called Doctor Who. Now, I'm not too familiar with this show specifically. I watched one of the Reboot series, the one that came out around 2005. I watched a few episodes way back, but as for recently, I don't really keep track. I know this is like a British thing. It's a real big deal for them. It doesn't really translate to America all the time though. I know there's some fans here, but it's really just like a lame British thing for the limeys, oh, we like our Doctor Who, we're going to watch a magic doctor, eh? Let's watch the Doctor. When's the Doctor on? That's how they sound to me at least. But the point is, today we're talking about Doctor Who and how the new star has actually gotten super woke recently. She's making a very woke claim, and it's already interesting, something we haven't got to cover yet. I haven't got to talk about this story because, frankly, I just usually don't care, but since it's come up with this new woke spin, I wanted to bring it up and catch up with you guys. Basically, Doctor Who, it's this long-running show about this doctor. He's like this alien, like extraterrestrial being who can like time travel and stuff. It's this like sci-fi show, and basically it's been long-running on the BBC, and there's been a lot of actors who have played the Doctor over many decades, but recently they of course decided to make a female version. This is a long-running male part that's been passed down over the years with an in-story kind of mechanic where the Doctor changes forms to another person every once in a while. They actually have a way to explain how the Doctor actor changed in the story, but essentially the new one is a girl. They changed it to a girl. They lady rebooted this thing because of course they did. It's in Britain. We're in modern times. Everything has to be girl washed, and that's what happened with Doctor Who. That actually happened a few years back. That's not the news story. The news story actually comes from this article. Here they say Doctor Who star Jodie Whittaker states that her parents raised her gender neutral before it was even considered a thing. So this is getting even more woke. She's trying to signal, like virtue signal, saying, hey guys, I'm woke. I was actually woke before it was cool. That's like a very hipster move if you think about it. She's being very hipster, saying, oh, we were neutral before it was even a thing. Like, oh, you guys are neutral now. Like, that's the trend, but I was it before. It's like I listened to the Beatles before they were famous. Like I watched Jaws before it was a big phenomenon. Whatever it may be. Those are bad other examples, but I think you get the point. She's trying to be hipster. She's trying to be cool and also like woke, because that's where the show is going. She's like a woke version of the Doctor character. It's been girl washed, and now she's saying she was neutrally raised, whatever that means. It's not really that big of a deal either. The leftists try to act like they should get a medal because they wore neutral colored clothes as a kid instead of like blue being for boys and pink for girls. Like she wore brown t-shirts and now she thinks she's some kind of superhero. Quite possibly she is a superhero in this TV show, but I think it's getting to her head a little bit. Now she thinks she's some kind of hero in the real world, and that's why we're going to talk about this story and get into more of the details. Let's go ahead and read on. Jodie Whittaker, the actress who currently plays the role of Doctor Who, has revealed that her parents took a gender-neutral approach to raising her and her brother before it was even considered a thing. So now we've got her further story. Her and her brother were raised neutral. There's a picture of her looking rather interesting, probably on the show. Here she's talking to some kind of rhinoceros alien, and I think this goes to show how silly this is because, she's a character that travels through space and talks to rhinoceroses, but on the side, the actor is also pro, LGBTQ rights. She's an alphabet person, and it's just a really silly premise. It's like, how do you take this person seriously? Look at this picture. I know, it's a long-running show. I'm sure this is a good story, but dude, she's talking to a rhinoceros, and she's trying to act like she's all woke. It's a real good contradiction for me. In an interview with the UK news outlet The Times, Whittaker stated, my brother and I were raised gender neutral before it was even considered a thing. She went on to describe how she and her brother were given equal opportunities and thrown into the same activities. Now, this is pretty common. Like I said, there's not really a big difference here. There's lots of people that have been raised like not neutral, like they just call it that now. It's like, for example, like you ever seen a girl who's like a tomboy and she might wear boys' clothes sometimes, or, play with the boys more. She wants to play baseball. There's guys that, want to have a tea party once in a while when you're a boy. There's no rules about that. Like they're trying to act like it's so strict and parents push their kids into it really hard, but that's not really the case. Really, the kids tend to like things that they like. And if a parent has a kid that's, for example, a girl and she wants to play baseball or softball, like no one's going to stop them unless they're a terrible parent. I'm sure there's some of them out there. I'm sure if you went back maybe like 50 years, you could find more strict gender roles. But the truth is, this is not happening in the present. I would doubt it even happened for this chick. I'm not not sure how old she is. She looks like she might be 30s or something like that. So she's talking about something that happened like 20 years ago. I mean, do you really think it wasn't that bad in the year 2000? Or maybe she grew up in the 90s or 80s probably. She probably is a little older than me, so she might be like an 80s kid. But even then, I mean, have you seen Stranger Things? Like the Stranger Things kids hung out with girls sometimes, and that's an 80s show, and I'm sure that's based on fact. So that's my example. No, I know that's not a good example, but that's just the first thing I think of when I think of 80s kids right now, that show on Netflix. But the point is, this is just not as significant as she claims. Like there's always been tomboys and, the same thing with tom girls or whatever, you want to call them. And the fact that they're in the same activities isn't that big a deal. Like when I was a kid, I have a brother and a sister and we all went swimming together. We all took this activity together. There's little things you do on your own, but that just depends on the person. Like if your brother likes baseball, he goes and plays that. If your sister wants to be a volleyball player, she plays that. There's other stuff besides sports too. There's interest in hobbies and music and TV and all that stuff. So I think the main point is this is just not a big deal, and she's just bringing it up to try to, get virtue signal points. Our parents told us that our social skills in sports were just as important as our academic results, explained Whitaker. They wanted me to be well-rounded, able to have a proper conversation, and have an inquisitive mind. So I don't think this has anything to do with gender neutral, like well-rounded conversation, inquisitive mind, sports is as important as academia. This is just how people raise kids. Like I think she's trying to slap this label on there, trying to get some, points in the present, trying to act cool, and it's just not working. It's just really lame. It's just like, it's not even a thing. Like she just was raised by nice parents. That's good for her. I'm happy for her. But, lots of us had that, and it wasn't like a gender neutral thing. Whitaker also described her mother as incredibly progressive. She explained, I'm surrounded by a sisterhood that is the most extraordinary gift I've been given. My mother is an inspiration and is incredibly progressive for her age. I also have a group of girlfriends I've known since I was little. It's never an effort to be close, even if we don't see each other regularly, and they'll call you out if they disagree with you, she stated. So more talk about her family. I don't doubt her mother was really progressive. I know that she probably grew up in Britain. Like I assume this is a British show and she's from somewhere in Great Britain, and they've always been pretty progressive, especially recently. I mean, maybe you go farther in the past, there was more conservative tilt, but like I said, she's not that old. We're talking about someone from the 80s or 90s. We're talking about a normal upbringing, and she just had decent parents. And I don't think the other thing is, I don't think saying something's incredibly progressive is necessarily good. Like I know they put that progress word in there, like, oh, progress, you got to support progressive because you want progress, right? You want to be better. And in a way, that's true if you say it like that, but the progressive ideals have actually proven to be more regressive in the past. They're hyper focused on race and identity and gender and all that stuff. It's actually regressing us to points where people are separating and self-segregating again. So it's not always as great as it seems. She says this as a total positive. It would be like me saying, my parents were conservative and assuming that's a positive. Now, I think that's a positive. I could explain why it's a positive, but the way she says it is she just throws out progressive, and that's supposed to be a good thing right away on its own, when really we know the downsides to that. The presentation of items, activities, and practices as gender neutral has seen an increase in popularity in recent years. Last year, Google promoted their Stadia controls as gender neutral, while toy manufacturers Mattel launched a gender neutral doll line on the basis that the company did not want their toys dictated by gender norms. So this article is addressing this sort of trend. This is coming up recently. We've obviously seen this repeatedly in movies and TV and videos we've talked about, celebrities. Everyone wants to be something different. Everyone wants to be special. Everyone wants to have those gender norms taken down, which are really just the natural way that a lot of men and women act and, live their lives and the way they want to dress. This is just tradition, and it's passed down through the years, and it happens to be that way. I don't think that it's necessarily like society pressuring people. That seems to be the implication here, and that's what like this actress and the article and the people that support her are trying to say. They're like bucking trends when really they're just jumping onto a new one. That's like the worst part, is like they act like they're so smart and new and independent and different, but they're just jumping on a new trend. This is just trendy stuff. This is just, wordplay, changing names, Google, Mattel getting in on it. It's not really as heroic or as significant as they claim. Not that it's bad either. Like, I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to bash any alphabet people, LGBTQ. They're all fine in my book. I love all the letters of the alphabet. I have nothing against them, but to use this stuff and to claim it falsely and to put it out there for like advertising purposes purposes, I believe. Like, I assume this interview is about the new season of Doctor Who, and I think she would say something like this to try to get attention, to try to get more people to watch. You know, it's just like a PR move, which makes it even more cheap. At the same time, Guardians of the Galaxy and Avatar star Zoe Saldana revealed that she was taking to raising her 3 sons in a gender-neutral environment. With the release of Animal Crossing New Horizons earlier this year, Nintendo removed the ability for players to choose their gender, instead allowing them to choose their styles. So more people getting in on this, another actress raising her kids, probably going to ruin their lives. And, you know, another video game giving this option. That's another thing. It's always like an option now when you fill out a form, or you say, in this game, you make a character, you pick the gender, but it's like, how do you pick a gender when gender's neutral now and no one's male or female? Like, everyone's the same. Everyone's this like unigender, you know, everyone's like fluid and stuff like that. This has come up on websites and applications. And when you fill out forms, even like voting, they'll have like gender neutral options on Facebook. And it's just part of this whole trend that's really just kind of annoying and lame. Later in the interview, Whitaker would also reveal her biggest weakness writing. My biggest weakness is being paranoid about getting 2 ticks on a WhatsApp and no response. She added, I get in absolute state and wonder what I've done. I overthink things and that can be exhausting. So I'm not sure what this WhatsApp stuff is about. Whitaker also reflected on when she got her first role of the Doctor. She wrote, being given the role of Doctor was a challenge before I'd even set foot in the front of camera. And that's the last thing I think we need to read. I think the thing worth mentioning is the Doctor has basically become like a trans character, since it was previously male actors and then it transitioned into a female. And as I said at the beginning, they have this in-story way of explaining how the Doctor actor changes. They actually have it in the story that he is this long-running alien being thing that just morphs into another personality. And in this case, it morphs from male to female. So there's a trans character in the show now who's claiming to be raised gender neutral, and I think it's just a whole woke mess, and it's showing that this show is desperate to get attention after all these years. People maybe just aren't watching as much anymore. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.